day 7 of NaNo, and it's a different situation because this is the first video of the day and it is already nighttime. In my defense, it is a fallback or whatever that weird time change that always happens is that I will never quite understand. So, you know, it doesn't excuse the fact that it's like 6 p.m., but it is why it's a little darker. No, we spent most of the day cleaning, and there was nothing exciting to talk about related to writing in my cleaning situation, so I didn't feel like I had to bore you with it. Just finished, though, my first half of the day, so I've got my 1667 or whatever. It's one of those things, so I went back to rewrite some of the stuff that I skipped, but in the beginning, so like, well, I guess not technically the beginning, it's maybe like 15 chapters in or something. But it's stuff that I sort of skipped because I wasn't entirely sure about it, and now I'm a little more sure about it. Not certain, but a little bit more confident about where I wanted that to end up. Because it's part of the world building situation where the story that I've created, some of it happens, you know, on Earth, and some of it happens in this other situation. And I was trying to figure out how much of the established world that I have built needed to be in there, because you want to avoid like info dumping and stuff. And so I was just trying to figure out how much I wanted to reveal at what point in time, so I hadn't done that part yet. Sort of skipped around when I got to that section of the writing. We'll see. I'm not sure. I split it into like 2 chapters, and I figure that's probably enough for the time being. And then I'm gonna hop back to where I've been. We had a whole conversation with my Discord group about what order people write in, because some, I don't know if it depends on whether you're more of a pantser or a planner or a plancer, if you write in a certain way. I don't think it's necessarily the case, but I guess maybe if you're more of a planner and you have a very detailed outline, you're more likely to write like straight up linearly. And then I know some other people who just write whatever they're feeling most inspired to write. I generally have been writing almost entirely linearly, with these like few little bits sort of skipped in between that I go back to, but everything else is like in order, and then I have those filler bits. I've tried it the other way in some of my other stuff, and it is fine, I guess, but every once in a while it's hard to like figure out or remember what you've, you know, revealed at what point, or when you set something up. And for me, just like my brain it gets too disorganized if I try to just do that. Although sometimes if I'm really excited to write like a section or a chapter, I'll just do that. Or I have a part of my documents where it's like random lines and things, like excerpts that I'll put in later. So if I have like a scene in my head that I'm not sure where it's gonna go, I'll just like throw it in that document and then write it out, and then it's very convenient for me later when I can just sort of take it and put it down where it's gonna go, and that way I don't have to worry about order. Also in Scrivener though, if you have like a full scene or a full chapter or something that you want to do that with, it's easy because you can just write it down and then reorder the chapters whenever you feel like it and just drag them, so it's not as hard as like a Word document where then everything gets a little weird. I don't know, I really like Scrivener for that reason. And then you can also do like dual page looking, so you can see what you're looking at here and then edit the other chapter at the same time. Makes my life easier because I really need things to be organized, otherwise I just get so confused. I have though, so I think I wrote my prologue first, and then I changed my whole book concept, you know, a couple chapters in. So then I still ended up actually using part of the original prologue in a section of the book later on, kind of as a flashback. And then I rewrote the prologue and new prologue pretty early on in the whole process, and the same situation. I had sort of an ending worked out, and then when I revamped the story, changed the ending, I switched it. So I have right now my last chapter done. And that's pretty much the farthest I have ahead. Like I have a couple little bits sprinkled in there, a couple of the excerpt things I was talking about, and maybe one other chapter, I think, besides the final chapter, but everything else is pretty much linear. And we got a lot of chapters, man. We've got a lot of chapters going on. It's gonna be interesting. But my chapters all vary in length too, so I don't know if I mentioned this in another vlog, can't remember, but the whole conversation about how long chapters should be is interesting, because I know some people get overwhelmed. They're like, I have to have a 1,200 word chapter or whatever. I just feel like you gotta write what you write, and then if it's a natural stopping point, then that's all it is. I have a couple of chapters that are like 400 words, and then some that are like 2,000 words. So usually they're somewhere in the middle, like 1,000 sometimes, but it really depends on just how the pacing is, because I almost feel like if all of your chapters are the same length all the time, it's almost like sentence structure. So like, you wouldn't want the cat went to bed, the cat jumped away, like it's just too da 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 da, and that's why you want to vary your sentence structure. And to me it's almost the same with chapter length. You don't want to have like everything be exactly the same, because then it just sort of feels like the pacing drags, at least in my opinion, and I guess depending on, you know, people's writing and the style of it. So I think it's good to just write, make it feel natural, and then end on a stopping point that, like, it doesn't have to be a cliffhanger, but leaves people excited to read on. I'm pretty sure that was like a Dan Brown masterclass thing, but it's good advice. I'm sure he's not the first to say it, but I think it's handy advice to make sure people just like want to keep reading, because that's, you know, the people who then get annoyed and they're like, I was up till 4 a.m. finishing the book. That's what you want. So I'm gonna go make my tea as usual, and then just finish up the second half of the day's writing and check back in equally at nighttime. So I'll see you soon. Hello, it is 10:30 p.m. and last time I was here, which was not very long for you guys, I said it was 6 p.m. and I'm at 9. You know, time exists. Anyway, I've completed the goal. I think I'm at like 3,600 words or something like that. So I passed the daily goal, or at least 3,400. I don't know, I'll check. But I passed the daily goal that I had set for myself, which is exciting. And what's even more exciting is that we got 2 new badges today. Yay! One is the 7-day badge, and the other is a 25,000 word badge. So I am super close to 27,000 words, and that is pretty freaking crazy for 1 week. At least for me. I know some people can probably do this regularly, but it takes a lot of energy. Like, in all honesty, it only takes about like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something to get that much done, at least for me if I'm writing it like this. So I guess it's not that much of a time commitment, but there's like an emotional commitment that's involved. I suppose though, I know now that I could rush it if I had to, so that's nice. As I said yesterday, like twice because I was tired, not gonna keep up with this pace for the rest of NaNo. Gonna slow it back down as I intended to do from the beginning, just so that I have a little more time to do other things, which will be nice. Gonna use that time wisely. But it's been I've really liked this week actually. I think it's been a very educational experience, and it's really nice to be halfway done NaNo already, both like word count wise and I guess a quarter of the way done NaNo time wise. Because as we said just a minute ago, time exists. Another weird thing happened today. So I know yesterday I said maybe very little. I can't remember what I said yesterday. I was very tired by the end. About adding new characters and stuff. Maybe that was the day before. Whatever. But yeah, one of my main characters, like kind of background characters, became a much bigger deal last night when I was writing. Like, important and integral in his backstory, and it was really, originally she was meant as like an off mention in the description of the town that he lives in, and then she became this like really like emotionally deep person that he had a connection to when he was a little kid, so that's interesting. And then something very similar happened today. I just feel like I'm making a lot of these characters have, like, they're not going to be so important that I need to go into like chapters with the depth or anything, but a lot of them that were sort of meant to be more like helpful transitionary characters for some of the other ones have become more relevant, which is not a bad thing so long as it doesn't become too ridiculous. But I find often in fantasy, which, mine's kind of fantasy bordering on other things, but that there are a lot of characters involved. And I was talking with my partner today about like point of view and everything, because originally this book was going to be just single POV, and a lot of it still is, because I think it's helpful to have, your main character who is very unaware, at least mine is very unaware of the world that he ends up in. So, he goes from a world where he lives in a small town, he knows everybody, they all know him, and he just knows how to do everything in where he's from. And he's sort of thrown into this new place where he knows absolutely nothing, and it's so completely different from what he's used to that he's just lost. And so seeing the world and the story through his eyes is very helpful, because, readers can also interpret the world the way that he's seeing it with the limited amount of information that he has. But I have, I think, 2 or 3 now characters who are going to have sort of like sporadic story moments. So just like a couple chapters each every once in a while. It's not going to be one of those like we're flipping every chapter sort of things. But even just tonight, I was writing and all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is going to be in the perspective of one of the characters the other day that I was like making the backstory for, who I made important. Now she has a whole chapter, you guys, that I just finished out the night with. So it's interesting just to see like where the story goes and what the story needs, especially when it's very, very different from what I had in mind in the beginning. But that's good. It's very interesting to just watch it grow. And I'm interested to see what happens now, because I think things are changing a little bit, actually, even from what I thought just a couple days ago. Not too much, but like, do you remember that thing I said a couple days ago with the like, I'm gonna do the thing that I think I might do and it might change things a little bit? It has changed things. It has changed things. So, having fun. Honestly, if I have to give an overall like week 1 Nano kind of wrap up, I would say I'm excited to not have to do this many words again every single day, just from a like time commitment standpoint later in the week. But I really did have a nice time. I think that I wouldn't be opposed to doing this again, just, this many words, if I knew that I didn't have a lot of other things going on. Because, like tonight I started writing at 9 p.m. and that it's intimidating when you're like trying to beat the clock as well. And the sprints were very helpful. I've said that every day, but they really helped me like keep myself from floating too far out of my brain, on different pages and stuff, and just keep me focused. And I have enjoyed Nano a lot, and I totally get why people wouldn't. I think it's a specific kind of writer who maybe works best this way, and also like depends on how much you've outlined or like have planned, or how good of just like a pantser you are, if you're just making it up as you go along. It just sort of depends on what you're used to, and also like making sure that, as I said a couple days ago, you don't get discouraged if it doesn't go to plan, and also how much time you have, because it is a commitment, like it's a commitment in planning and in writing. And so if you're like crazy busy, it's also probably hard, depending on how fast you write and everything. So I can see how it wouldn't be good for some people, but I've really enjoyed this format. And I remembered to get tea, I hydrated, I had some snacks, so taking care of myself also. I can't complain. I really can't. I mean, I've been tired, and then also, maintaining vlogs and stuff every day is an added commitment, but I think it's good. I'm not regretting doing it, even if yesterday's was very short. I'm happy with how things are, and I'm excited to see how the next week goes. So I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up tonight, and I will see you bright and early, not dark, not at 6/9 p.m. for day 1 of week 2 of Nano. and we'll just follow it as we go. So thanks for hanging in there. Week 1 done. Sweet dreams.